This will be a little quick one. As I promised, get into some controversial topics. So these are my top five editors. Um, Start out with number five, which is Jove. And Jove is an old editor, dates from the 80s. I think maybe the late 70s. I think it's from the early 80s, and it is an acronym. Stands for I think Jonathan's own version of Emacs, and it's a nice small Emacs. Um, Relatively common. Used to be really common on a lot of Linux distros because it was small. A little bit less popular now, but if you need a nice lightweight, Emacs style editor, it works nice. One of the things I do like about it is this fun scroll bar, and as I scroll here, you can see it indicates your position in the file. Uh, so number five, Jove, and let's get out of there. Get to one of the bigger ones, which is Vim, VI improved. This isn't my favorite of the VI clones, but this is a really powerful VI style editor. Has lots of language support, plugin support, can do a whole lot of stuff. As you see here, it's detected syntax and it's doing highlighting. Uh, Supports a lot, all the VI stuff plus additional things. One thing that maybe it supports natively, but I don't think that it does is binary support. So oftentimes Vim users will also have BVI to do their binary editing. Um, this is the most common VI you will see on most Linux distros, or most of the popular Linux distros will be Vim. So if you're on one of the Red Hat enterprise things, it's Vim. I believe on SUSE it's also Vim. So that's number four, which is Vim. Let's do number three, one of my favorites, which is Jed. Um, and Jed is a really powerful editor. As you see here, we get syntax support. You get a menu bar up at the top, which is a nice menu to get into F10. I use it in Emacs style modes. I think it also lets you do WordStar key bindings, maybe a couple other styles of key bindings. But I find Jed to be a really powerful editor, and unlike some of the other uh, Emacsin, um, which may use Lisp to do a lot of the definitions, this uses something called the S language, which makes it, in some ways, for a C-style person, it makes it a little bit easier uh, to deal with modding it, adding to it, say, language definitions, etc., for the syntax. And it has nice syntax highlighting. It has most of the common modes you'll need. Uh, Nice and handy, so it has all the modern features you want out of there. So that was uh, number three, which was Jed. And number two is GNU Emacs. And this is, the big. This is the big heavyweight um, editor. I mean, GNU Emacs is incredibly powerful. Um, it can do so much. I'm showing it here in the terminal mode. It also does have a great graphical mode. You can build with any sort of widget you want, and it's not number one on my list, and I'll explain why when I get to number one. But it is incredibly powerful to the point where I'd say it beats a lot of true to form IDEs, and it has options. It's extendable, and modifiable using the Lisp language, and it is just an incredibly powerful editor, especially when used in the graphical mode. I rarely use GNU Emacs in a terminal mode, so for that I will use something like Jed if I have it, or Jove if it's on a smaller system. Um, so this is kind of the king of the Emacs. For a while I was using Emacs, which came off of Lucid Emacs, which I guess there was a fork at some point in the past, and Emacs/Lucid Emacs was in some ways the more advanced. Now I think that has gone back to GNU Emacs. So, highly recommended. Incredibly powerful. A bit of a heavyweight. Not that much of an issue on modern systems, but way back when, in the the early to mid '90s, um, it was a bit of a heavyweight. There was the old joke that Emacs was an acronym for 8 megs and constantly swapping, because it was a bit of a beast. Again, today, not a big deal. You'll have something like Eclipse or some of the other Java-based IDEs that certainly are heavy on the resource consumption. So that's number 2. That's GNU Emacs. And finally, my number 1 editor of all time is Elvis, and it's a VI clone that is very, very powerful. It has really easy to use syntax, editing capabilities. As you see here, it does a variety of modes. Here it's doing syntax highlighting in Perl. Of course, we've been looking at a Perl module in all of these. Supports most of the VI stuff you'd want. In fact, all the base VI stuff and other things. So it has its own X-based scripting language. So you can do automation with it if you so want. It is the right balance, where Vim may be a little too heavyweight, some of the other smaller things a little too small. This fits that nice balance for me. So if I'm using a VI or a VI clone, it's going to be Elvis if it's available. An interesting thing, I think, way back when in the Elvis code, it was formed the basis for the VIs that are now in the BSD systems. So it has some interesting legacy there. One of the things I like about Elvis that you can't do with Vim do this, is a built-in binary mode, so hex editor mode. So here we just pulled up the actual binary for Elvis, and that I think is a really handy feature, because oftentimes you do need to go look at binary files, and yeah, you can do the BVI and Vim combination, but this does it all in one. So that's my number 1 editor is Elvis. If you haven't used any of these, try taking a look at each one of them, or if there's any that you haven't used, I would recommend them. I mean, things like the heavyweight GNU Emacs is great. You're dealing with multiple source files. You have an actual project going. Not to say you can't do big projects with these other editors, especially the Emacs-like ones. But that is really, it's on par with many, many modern IDEs in terms of functionality and usability. And then the VI clones, VI and Elvis, are exceptional in their lightweightedness. If you're on a slow terminal connection, say you're dealing with old gear, you want something small to run, that will function nicely over a 9600 baud connection. The VI clones work really well. That the modal nature of them helps with the short commands, and you can see what the command is being run, and very nice. And that's I guess the other big divide here is the Emacs versus VI, and I don't really take a side on this except to defend Emacs. I use them both. I use both styles. And one of the things that differentiates me is I can't do all the super advanced, I can't remember all the super advanced commands in VI as well as I can look up the super advanced commands on the Emacs side. So that's that. Please comment below. Let me know what you think of both these editors. Maybe I've missed one of your favorites. Let me know.